Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast, coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. Two-way views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Oh, yeah.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
Throw punch Thursday, bitch.
Yep. Blue jeans beat Ranger panties every time.
Every single time.
Yep. Yep.
It's just a given.
Yeah. Yeah,
How are we
might be
doing
able to
today, my
run
friend?
fast- Yes, you might be able to run faster, but you can't beat the throat punch. Yep.
Well, you figured you would think every Thursday he should be looking for it. I mean, but never
Yeah,
ready.
throw the block up. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, the old.
Good stuff. Good stuff. How are things going, though, for you thus far today?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Everything's going all right. Going all right today. How about things in the world of Craig? Everything going all right there?
Everything is going well in the world of Craig. The weather has improved. Got a lot of yard work to do, but other than that, man, I'm loving life.
Yeah, same thing here. It went from the mower was like put away for the winter, and now it's back out once a week, and within the next 2 months it'll be out 2 to 3 times a week. It's just crazy here.
Yeah, it's the hard part when it rains out here is that it makes it difficult to do the yard work because the problem is by the time I get time to do the yard work, it's raining again. So then you want to let everything dry out, and then all of a sudden, I've got a jungle in my backyard. It starts to look like I'm in Florida.
Yeah, I know I've said it here before too. Gets to July or August here, and I've got just under an acre to cut. By the time I'm done, I could start cutting the other end again. It's longer. It's a half inch longer, inch longer. So I usually break it down over, do a section every other day, and cut 2 to 3 times a week.
Wow, wow. You have a riding lawnmower, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not. Listen, I'll stay fit as best I can, but I ain't pushing that mower around like that.
I used to have a 1 acre, not 1 acre, half acre property, and I used it was mostly lawn, so I used the riding lawnmower. When my kids, as they got older, tried to have them use it. Now the problem was my daughter, who was older than my son, a little older than my son, she could ride it and she could mow it. My son didn't have it. He didn't have enough junk in the trunk. He wasn't heavy enough to hold the seat down.
Yeah, I my daughter is allowed to cut the grass. And my wife is not allowed to. I actually hide the keys in the safe from her for the mower because every time she uses it, something breaks or she gets it stuck in the woods or down a slope somewhere, and you're just not allowed. You're just not allowed anymore.
Not allowed. Not allowed.
Yeah,
Why does that not surprise me?
yeah, yeah. Done. I got her a couple of battery powered weed eaters so she could do something if she wants, but you don't get the mower. You don't get the
No,
mower.
you do not get the mower. Sorry. Don't know what
No.
to tell you. My wife has never, ever, ever, ever mowed our lawn. Although I think if I were to try, even when I had the riding lawnmower, she wouldn't have had enough junk in the trunk to hold the seat down either.
Right. Right.
My
Yeah.
wife's a
Yeah.
tiny little thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's get into the program and let's start it off with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, let's say hi to Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you want to get yourself an AR barrel, get on over there. They got rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire for your AR rifle build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical holsters, concealed holsters on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters, HAWGholsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you want the best tactical gear, field gear, web gear, military, law enforcement, security, doesn't matter what it is, get your agency together, get your group of guys together, and make an order over there at uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment and visit our sponsors. They are doing a phenomenal job of providing you all with quality products at an affordable price. So just go to their websites. And to go there, all you have to do is follow the links in the description to this program. Just go there, check them out, spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them it was the guys over at the Rundown that sent you.
That's us.
All right, let us let us
Let us.
get into today's program. We're going to start off here, this first story. And one of the interesting things that has started to happen lately is you're starting to see, now that Biden is out of office, you're starting to see all of these books that are starting to come out about things that were occurring leading up to and during the Biden administration. We've seen now reports relating to the Hunter Biden laptop, and how, I mean, literally the gag orders that were placed on the FBI before, regarding the Hunter Biden laptop, basically telling them you can't say anything about this laptop. And by the way, they had it a full 10 months before the story broke at the New York Post. When they were denying that it was a laptop, and they were all saying that it was Russian disinformation, and they were telling the social media companies that, yeah, no, this is Russian disinformation. Yeah, they had it a full 10 months before then. We're seeing reports now about how during the campaign near the end of the Biden administration, we're seeing reports now about how Barack Obama did not want to endorse Kamala Harris. In fact, was encouraging them to not have her do it. He didn't come out and endorse her for like 3 or 4 days afterwards. Even Biden initially did not want to endorse Kamala Harris. He wanted to take a bit of a victory lap. But all of these things are now coming out in terms of, look, nobody liked Biden. Nobody liked Kamala. Nobody wanted them to run. All this stuff that was going on in the Democratic Party, just how in shambles the Democratic Party was, despite having the White House. Well, now we're finding out. We're not finding out because we were paying attention. We saw how bad it was. But now you've got insiders there who worked side by side with the president, who are now admitting in a new book, it says here, top Biden aide describes, quote, out of it president before Trump debate. In other words, he's talking about how bad it was, how off the former president was leading up to it. It says here in a new book, Joe Biden's former White House chief of staff paints a devastating picture of the then U.S. president's mental and physical state before the debate with Donald Trump that sent his 2024 campaign into a tailspin, resulting in his relinquishing the Democratic nomination to Kamala Harris. Rob Klain served Biden from 2021 to 2023, then returned to his side last June to run debate preparations, as he had for numerous Democratic presidents before him. According to Klain, it turned out that Biden didn't know what Trump had been saying and couldn't grasp what the back and forth was. Left preparation and fell asleep by the pool, obsessed about foreign leaders, saying, these guys say I'm doing a great job as president, so I must be a great president. Didn't really understand what his argument was on inflation, and had nothing to say about a second term other than finish the job. I mean, Mike, these are just the things that we know about that were occurring in the very last minutes of the campaign, of his presidency. He talks about in the book, going all the way back to the beginning, starting in 2021, when he fell up the stairs, the number of times they would have to, every day, you never knew what president you were going to get. And they talked about how they worked. The staff, the party, everybody worked to cover up the actual incompetence of the president.
Yeah, like you said, Craig, if you've been paying attention, you saw this long before that. I mean, you could see this in his first year as vice president under Obama, how incompetent he was, and how Barry had to, rein him in and keep him from doing anything. And then, of course, as president, when he's standing out in front, we saw the two Bidens, right? We saw, Joe being alert, clearly under some sort of medicinal aid to keep him alert and moving. And it got to the point, the second year into his presidency, where not even that worked. I mean, look at how embarrassing he was during the debate, and they had time to prepare him for it, and still it wasn't enough.
Well, and it makes you wonder, like the rumor about the fact that he shat himself during a visit with the Pope. It makes you wonder, did he? Is it
Well,
possible that could have happened?
I don't know about you, Craig, but if I ever meet with the Pope, I might shit myself too. I mean, that guy knows stuff. That guy knows stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that. I don't know that I would do that, but it would definitely be an interesting experience. A little past popes, not so much this Pope.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not. This Pope. I'm not. I got issues with this Pope. But anyway, they were talking about how he would put on makeup to go and do not just to do interviews. I mean, obviously, a lot of politicians put on makeup to do interviews, but he would put it on to go and meet with his cabinet, right? And there were times when he would put on the makeup to go and meet with the cabinet, and then would just decide, I'm not going to meet with the cabinet. I'm not feeling it today.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, for those that don't know, you wear makeup when you go on TV, especially if you're sitting there facing cameras like Craig and I do all day long. Now, we don't do it. You can see Craig's forehead and my forehead are nice and shiny, and that's what they do. They put the powder and the makeup on to keep that way. You got lighting, so you don't see darkness under our eyes and nose, but it takes down the shiny spots because you can't get both. You can't get it every way you like. So we don't wear it. Obviously, we don't care. But if you told me we were going to do a guest spot on Fox, we're wearing makeup, Craig.
Oh yeah. Of course, every time I think of makeup, I always think of those old movies where there was makeup, and the guy would come with this big old powder thing, come and go, poof.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. But evidently, getting makeup was too much for Joe. He had to go take a nap after that.
See, folks, here's the thing, and this is why this is important. You may be like, well, he was just old and, yada, yada, yada. But think about this. That was the easy stuff. The meetings and all of that, that's the easy stuff. When he's having to make very important decisions, when he is in the Situation Room and he's having to make or he's in the Oval and he's having to deal with complex decisions, clearly there were times when he was not in a position to be able to make those decisions. So who was making them?
Yeah, absolutely. Or somebody else, Craig. And listen, it's nothing against old, being old. Listen, some people have 100% of their senses until they pass away one day, and others you see the decline. Listen, even we saw it in Reagan, at one point, Joe does not handle it well. His age, precludes him from being there, but DJT seems to be at the top of his game. He seems to get better every day.
Well, exactly. But even then, even with that, age catches up with all of us, right? Yeah. Eventually it catches up with all of us. Although I'll tell you, I watched an interview that Thomas Sowell did just the other day. Thomas Sowell's 94 years old. And, his speech is a little slower. No, his speech has always been slow, but it's a little slower than it used to be. But dude, now that is an intellect. That is a dude who is just on it. But it catches up eventually with all of us eventually. And the more you are in a job that is as highly stressful as being president is, it's eventually going to catch up with you. And he wasn't in any good shape going in. I mean, the one thing you could say about Donald Trump is, Donald Trump was cognitively as sharp as he's ever been going in. And he's always really had a 24/7, 365 type of work schedule anyway.
Right.
So being president, I'm not going to say it's nothing new. The stakes are definitely higher, but it's definitely it's definitely not as big a step up as it is for someone, say, going from a vice president to president.
Yeah. And listen, it's a damn stressful job. Can you name one president that you can recall that went into office? They all go into office with their regular color hair, and 4 years later, they're all gray. Every single one of them.
Oh yeah, even Barack Obama, every single one of them. That's what happens. It's when you are always on and you're having to make decisions that, life or death decisions. And you could be making life or death decisions every day as president of the United States. It's high stress. And that's why.
not just life or death decisions, but end of the world decisions.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Potentially end of the world decisions. Anyway, what bothers me, and this is why I really do think that those who are involved in trying to hide his condition, I really do think there needs to be an investigation. I really do believe that there's something needs to be done, because that literally in this particular case, the one person who is in a position to actually do something, the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, she had, in my opinion, not only the ability to do something, she had the obligation to do something. She's the one person who solely had the obligation to do something when she realized he was not in a position to be able to functionally run the country.
Right, and I think we all realize that Biden was not in control of his faculties all the time, but there was this group who we don't know, and that's what the investigation needs to be, who was controlling that. And we also know they were controlling not letting her step forward, because quite frankly, they recognized, as you and I did, Craig, and many other people, she's an idiot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not exactly there. Not exactly there. All right. Now, in other news, once again, the funny part about some of this is this is stuff we already knew, right? This is stuff you can already see happening. But, now the media is reporting on it. In this particular case, well, it's Breitbart. So Breitbart is always, they're always pretty good and on top of this stuff. But I actually wrote a piece, I want to say about 6 or 7 months ago. It was called How College Students Are Being Educated into Imbecility. And how basically it was about how they're being indoctrinated into a form of neo-Marxism that is hell-bent on overthrowing the country. Well, that's evidently not all they are being indoctrinated into. As experts are now pointing out how our universities have been infiltrated by Iran, terrorist organizations, working on indoctrinating our students and recruiting members. It says here, the American universities have become strategic targets for extremist organizations that exploit immigration laws to embed operatives, secure future U.S. citizenship, and cultivate a new generation of pro-terror activists. Excuse me. Often under the radar, warns that was easy for me to say. Emirati political analyst Dr. Salim Al-Khatbi, who links the trend to foreign-backed efforts, including by Iran, to infiltrate young minds and to spread radical ideology on campus. Now, Mike, what's interesting about this is a lot of this is being done by the organizations, by countries who are pushing, we're talking billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars into our universities, funding various different schools and buildings. And they're sending their students, their people over here in the guise of them being students, but really they're sending them over in the guise of them being recruiters, so that they can recruit young Americans, young students or people from other countries into these organizations that are promoting radical terrorism. And if you want to know where we're getting all of these folks who are running these anti-American, anti-Israel protests on colleges, universities, this is where they're coming from.
Yeah, and listen, I don't know that I can even blame the people that are sending these instigators over here to go to the universities. When you're looking for somebody and you need people, when you go in recruiting, you go to the target-rich environments, right? And why not go to the hotbeds of liberalism? And that's what we've got going on in the colleges, and that's the problem here, is that our government, well, half of our government, right, the left half of our government has been funding and pushing, along with the fourth estate, the media, for these hotbeds of liberalism to exist. It's cyclical, Craig. We saw the same thing during the Vietnam War. That's what was going on in colleges. But then you and I, when we went to college and go back to the 80s and 90s, this is, you wanted to find conservatism at its hardest core, you went to college campuses, and now it's just swung back around again. Craig? Craig. Did I lose you, Craig?
Sorry about that. I hit the cough button and didn't realize that I hit the cough button. I left
There
it
you go.
off.
There you go.
Well,
All good.
and what's interesting is that now you've got these, once again, these students who are coming over, and you just use the example of the Columbia student, right?
Yes.
This was a guy who basically came here, and within a 2-year period, he came here, he started running protests, he married an American citizen so that he could kind of, anchor himself here. And he did so specifically so that he could be in a position to do. And by the way, he had all of these ties with organizations, with UNRWA and organizations that had ties to terrorist groups, and nobody had anything to say about it. The Biden administration just let him in, which once again goes back to raise the question when they talk about, well, all these people are being vetted who are coming into the country. Well, evidently they're not being vetted very well.
Well, or allowed to come in and create that hate and discontent, because that hate and discontent was anti-conservative and anti-Donald Trump. That was good for them in their re-election campaign as far as they were concerned.
Exactly. No, and this is, and I'll just take this back to what it was. People want to act like all cultures are equal. They're not. There is a reason why the United States is what it is and why Mexico is not. I'm sorry, you don't have to like it, but it's the truth. There's a reason why the United States is the way that it is, and Afghanistan is not, and Gaza is not.
Listen, but
and
besides
when-
Rosie O'Donnell, nobody's fleeing our borders to go anywhere else.
Well, exactly, and I'll just put it to you this way. Look, Rosie O'Donnell has well, let's just put it this way. Israel, I'm not Israel. Why am I forgetting where she went? Ireland. Yeah,
Ireland.
Ireland. Yeah, Ireland
money.
is actually. Last I heard, they were putting like a 50% tax on everything coming from the U.S. or tariff on everything coming from the U.S. until we take Rosie O'Donnell back.
Yeah, which is wonderful. And if you saw the Irish Prime Minister, they denied her permanent stay application, so she'll be coming back soon or going somewhere else.
There you go. Well, because here's the thing: it's not. First of all, it's not just anti-America; it's anti-Western civilization. America is the poster child for the anti-Western movement, but it's all about anti-Western. And for a lot of these liberals, they just I don't know what it is. What it is that they? Why do they hate, especially the Hollywood ones? Why do they hate the very system that has made them the success that they are?
Control. We talk about this. Control. They have a say in it. The media puts them out there every time they make an opinion. Well, guess what? That makes them more popular. That means they get more money in their pocket. They get more jobs.
Yeah. Well, all I know is that it just goes to show you that some of these folks are not the sharpest knives in the drawer. It's the reason why maybe you should just, I don't know, shut up and tell jokes. Shut up and sing. Shut up and play sports. There's a reason why I don't have a national platform to go out and have people watch me play basketball, because I'm not a very good basketball player.
It happens to some. It's okay.
But I just wonder. The very fact that they think that it's important for them to make comments about politics and policy when they know absolutely nothing about what they speak. And The View is probably the best. The amount and the level of sheer and utter ignorance and arrogance that comes from the folks on The View. Every time you have someone on there with half a brain cell, they make them look bad. They embarrass them because the positions that they take are so antithetical to reality.
Yeah, and that's beyond ignorance. There, that's ignorance. They got ignorance.
That right there is straight ignorance. Straight ignorance.
Yep.
Totally ignorance. Anyway, so yesterday, Mike, we were talking about the guy who decided that he was going to threaten. No, not threaten. He recommended that you should shoot ICE agents on sight. That's right. He decided he was going to come out. He did a post on TikTok talking about how he was going to he was recommending that people just shoot them because, well, they're coming at you with masks and everything. Like, you don't know who they are, so just shoot them. Well, and you said it. This guy is about to get a pair of bracelets. Well, as it turns out, it didn't take too long because we were talking about it yesterday, and it happened today. It happened. It says here, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigation, and Homeland Security Investigation agents from Dallas, Texas, arrested a man for making terrorist threats against ICE agents and Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. In a post on X, HSI Dallas revealed that they had taken a man named Robert King into custody and explained that his social media posts included intentions to open fire if ICE agents were spotted in his neighborhood. Robert King, the U.S. citizen, was recently taken into custody in McKinney, Texas, for making terrorist threats against ICE agents and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. HSI Dallas said King's alarming social media post included intentions to open fire if agents are seen in his neighborhood. There's the picture. There's the picture right there where they're arresting. They're looking to arrest him. This is the guy right here. You guys might remember this guy. We showed his video just yesterday, and you talk about Donald Trump getting on it like right now. I mean, they didn't mess around. That video went up, it got taken down, and dude got busted like that.
Yeah, Dunn, I told you, listen, if they found out he was an American or if he was a foreign national, they were going to revoke his visa and he was going to El Salvador. Well, it turns out he's an American citizen, so he gets to go to Cuba for the summer. He could be down at Gitmo. In fact, what is it, about 6:30 now? He's probably already there.
Well, now, if we were specific, he's supposed to be on his way to Ecuador.
Yes, Ecuador. Yeah.
He's going to be going to some black site in Ecuador.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He gone. He's not in the country anymore. He's gone.
But here's the thing, though, and I to a certain degree, he's not the only one to blame, and I say that for this reason. Liberals in Congress, liberals in the media have been talking about war against Trump, about punching Trump in the face, about knocking him out, about making fun of the fact that the assassination attempts were not successful. They have been invoking violence against Republicans, against law enforcement, against conservatives, against the president of the United States. They have been doing it now, and they've been ramping it up. And this guy only said what they were saying, except he was very explicit and very specific. See, general threats are one thing. This was a very specific threat when he identified who he was going to shoot. It was going to escalate to this eventually. Now, I'm realizing that that's probably not going to change their rhetoric because, quite frankly, I think there are some folks like Maxine Waters who need to be arrested as well.
It's coming. It's coming. Listen, I heard Pam Bondi the other day talk about potential investigation on Hillary Clinton's server and her handling of classified information. So they listen. They got a little backlog, but they're doing it.
Well, they're doing what they're doing what they're supposed to be doing,
Yes.
And that is going after criminals. And a lot of this investigation, folks, in some cases, even if there is not a quote unquote prosecution, it's important that we know and we understand and we reveal what exactly was going on, right? So a lot of this favoritism stuff, a lot of the stuff that the selective prosecution and all that, they may find a way to weasel out of getting prosecuted for breaking the law, but what it may wind up leading to is a reason to institute laws that will specifically cover some of these instances. That will specifically say, if you do this for this reason, then you should do some jail time. But it's also about uncovering narratives, false narratives that the left has been portraying. When I say the left, I don't just mean the left and the media. I'm also referring to the deep state.
Yeah, and that's the root of the problem. That's where it's coming from, right? They're the ones that they're the ones that put the ball in motion and allow this to occur.
Yeah, they are the bureaucrats that are working. They're the bureaucrats that work beyond administration. They work for Republicans. They work for Democrats. They're the ones that are there no matter who's in office. They're the ones that are running things.
Yeah, it's their
they
narrative.
don't like to see. Yeah, they don't like to see their fiefdom challenged.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Now this next one. Now you might recall that Democrats have tried to say, well, you know what? You're not legally allowed to make a decision. You're not legally allowed, or the courts, or you're not legally allowed to just deport somebody who has a visa because they're here in the country legally. Well, lo and behold, that's not true, because the Supreme Court has ruled 9-0, by the way, unanimously, that no, there is no judicial review for the revocation of visas. That, DHS can revoke visas for whatever reason they want.
Supreme Court today ruling unanimously upholding the Department of Homeland Security's discretion to revoke visas at any time for any reason and without review of a judge. The ruling could have a major impact on future immigration cases as President-elect Trump prepares for a crackdown on undocumented migrants. ABC News senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer has more for us. Devin.
Kana, the question the Supreme Court considered in this case is whether the Department of Homeland Security has full discretion to revoke the visa or legal status of any immigrant in this country for any reason without review by a judge. And the Supreme Court, in the first decision it's handed down this term, said unanimously, yes, it does. It was an opinion written by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. 9-0, the Supreme Court said, in fact, that immigration officials in the federal government have broad authority to revoke legal status of anyone who it finds evidence of having violated the law. This was a case involving
So what gets me about this, Mike, is this was back in December. This was before Donald Trump became president. He had already been elected, but he had not become president yet. It was a decision that was made 9-0, meaning the liberal justice and the conservative justices all agreed. And Ketanji Brown Jackson, who can't define what a woman is, wrote the majority opinion. And yet, and still, you had liberals, you had folks on the left saying that they don't have the ability to do this. Now, why is this important? And the reason this is important is because there was another video. By the way, Mike sent me that first video. He sent me a meme version of it, but I wanted to share the actual news report. There's another video that Mike sent that I think explains, gives you a very good reason why, some of these judges might be in a position where they're going to wind up losing their jobs.
Finally, we've got a Republican representative in the House that's grown a set and has decided to file a resolution to start taking action against federal judges who've decided that they want to pretend to be the president instead of, a lower court district judge. So Representative Andy Biggs from Arizona filed a resolution today to remove Judge Boasberg from the bench. And a pretty boss move, as a matter of fact, because what he's attempting to do is to sidestep the impeachment process, knowing that there's no way the Democrats are going to join with Republicans in the Senate to actually remove a judge that they want to interfere with Donald Trump's Article 2 authority as the chief executive. So instead, he filed a resolution arguing that you don't have to go through impeachment because the Constitution actually gives Congress the authority to remove judges based on good behavior. And Representative Biggs is accusing Judge Boasberg of an abuse of power. My favorite part is here on page 4. James Boasberg knowingly interfered with the president's execution of foreign policy. And he goes on to say that James Boasberg knowingly interfered with the president's execution of foreign policy. And he goes on to say that Boasberg knowingly extended beyond the bounds of power of his office and unjustly interfered with the execution of foreign policy. And then he goes on to...
So, Mike, now, why that's important, keep in mind, December, that decision was made. Unanimous. And then Bozeman decided to ignore that. I don't know. From what I understand, I'm not a lawyer. I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But I think Dude makes, and Representative Biggs makes a very good point. They may be able to, via resolution, remove some of these judges who are getting in the way of the president doing his authority, in particular when it comes to enforcing immigration.
Yeah, Craig, and it comes down to corruption, right? It's the almighty dollar. They found that Brosberg's wife has been a board member on one of these nonprofits that's been receiving money from USAID. There's so much. I mean, they're finding that former presidents are tied to this now. It's Doge is and it's the reason they hate Trump, and it's the reason they hate Musk, is because he's going to expose every one of them for their criminal activity. And like you said earlier, the people are in place now to file those charges. So this guy is fighting for everything he can do to keep his job, trying to make himself look relevant. So if they try and take him off the bench, they're going to say it's because of his rulings, right? Not because of his criminal, his criminal corruption connections in the past. And Craig, if this method doesn't work, Speaker Johnson has said, well, it's up to the Congress in whole to fund the district courts. So we'll just defund them courts one by one.
Right. Well, and it's a lot of people are like, well, I mean, this is the danger right now when you have people who are overstepping their bounds and allow politics to get into some of these things, to get into the administration of government. When you allow, in particular, political ideology and politics, that's what you're seeing. When you see the Department of Justice going after the political enemies of one party, there's going to be a repercussion of that. And that is when the other party gets in, one of two things can happen. One that shouldn't happen is the exact opposite, where you see them going after their political enemies, which is what they're trying to say is happening. Or you have what is actually happening is that people who abuse their power to go after their political enemies are now being held accountable, right? We start with the investigation, and once the investigation reveals what they did, then they need to face justice. I'm sorry, but...
I was just saying, I'm sorry, Craig. Every one of them, right? They're going to find that they were criminally negligent or criminally responsible or part of this corruption to take money away from the U.S. government. Again, how many times we got to go that somebody's got a salary of $125,000, but all of a sudden they got $10 million in their bank account in the past 5 years? They're going to find this. The trail is there, and now we have people that are going to look at it, not turn their head. Craig, I was a criminal investigator for a very long time. They're doing exactly what every criminal does when they start to become under suspicion: lie, deny, make counter accusations, and that's what they're doing.
Right. Anyway, this is far from over. We're going to see a lot more of this. And for those of you who are Trump haters, or you're a left-wing Democrat, or you just don't like Republicans, just understand this is not happening because these guys are political enemies. This is happening because they have literally used the power of government to go after their political enemies, in particular the justice system. And they're going to be held accountable. This guy, if you look at all of these injunctions that are taking place, all these people who are getting in the way, you notice almost all of them are judges who were appointed by Obama, by Clinton, and by Biden. Very few of them are judges. And I'm not saying that Trump hasn't pushed legal boundaries. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that when you look at what the Trump judges or the Bush judges, any of those who may have put in place a temporary injunction, there's actually a case there that they have to look at. But some of these, I'm like, especially when they says, yeah, no, you're not. The Supreme Court says, you don't get to do that, and then they do it anyway.
9-0. Ketanji Brown, she had the majority opinion. 9-0, they decided you can't do that.
You would think that's all it would really take for them to just wake up to reality and say, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe if I want to have an ounce of credibility. But the problem, Mike, is that the left sees the law as a tool. They don't see it as, this is what I'm supposed to judge it based on. Their attitude is, my job is to do justice as I see it. And if I can ignore the law and do justice as I see it or rewrite it, then that is what I will do. And that's not the role of the judiciary in the American judicial system.
Yeah, exactly right. The conservative judges use the rule of law, and liberal judges want to make policy.
There you go. There you go. All right, folks. Well, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your hog holster today. Now, you know that yesterday tariffs went into place, right? Well, unfortunately, there was an unintended impact on this. And I picked this story specifically, Mike, and this is from our friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. Because you being a baseball fan, I thought that you might appreciate this one. It appears that the tariffs have caught up Major League Baseball. Says here, Dodgers bankrupted as Trump places 25% tariff on Japanese players.
Woo! Listen, I'm a Mets fan, and lucky for us, Puerto Rico's part of the United States, and we don't have to place any tariffs on them. Otherwise, the Mets would go out of business.
No tariffs on them.
Yeah.
Well,
the Mets have a great team, and we just happen to have a lot of players from Puerto Rico right now. It's just wonderful to watch them play, though.
There you go. All right, now the other thing is, and there's also another thing that he's done, and this is the genius of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, once again, the genius of Donald Trump, he tricks Democrats into hating taxes.
He's great. He's great. He's playing that 3D chess, and everybody else is playing rock, paper, scissors.
Yes, most definitely. And then finally, as you recall, and we talked about this yesterday, Pete Hegseth putting in place physical standards or requirements that are equal for men and women who are in combat. And one of those standards that he is instituting says here, Pete Hegseth adds pickle jar test to military fitness standards.
That looks like pickled garlic and peppers. That looks pretty good.
It does. All right, folks. Well, that's just about it for today's show. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you got that AR in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels, don't even know it. Well, now you can go buy from them factory direct, any caliber, any length you desire. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you could take part in California's future today. And again, if you want the best field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, whatever it may be, get your agency together, get your group together, and give a call over to uscombatgear.com where you get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. Once again, take a moment, visit our sponsors, let them know that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. And with that, we're going to call it a day. We will be back tomorrow on Free for All Friday. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see you tomorrow.